Think about someone you know who always seems to be living well. New car in the driveway, nice apartment, fresh clothes every few weeks, vacations showing up on their Instagram every couple of months, dinners at places you'd only go for a special occasion. They seem relaxed about money, never stressed, always ready to spend. Now here's the question that most people never actually ask. How much of that is real? Not in a judgmental way, genuinely. How much of what you're seeing reflects actual financial health and how much of it is a very convincing performance? Because here's something that economists and psychologists took decades to fully understand and that most people still haven't internalized. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are two completely different things. And in the world we live in today, where everything gets posted, filtered, and curated, the gap between those two things has never been wider. This video is about that gap. It's about a phenomenon called lifestyle inflation, why social media turbocharged it into something genuinely dangerous, and why the people around you who look the most financially comfortable are sometimes the ones closest to the edge. Here's the story most of us grew up believing. You work hard, you earn more, you spend more. That's just how life works. You get a raise, you upgrade your apartment. You get a better job, you get a better car. More money in means more lifestyle out. It feels natural. It feels like progress. It feels like you're supposed to do this. And when you see the people around you doing exactly that, spending more as they earn more, always seeming to have the latest version of everything, it reinforces the belief. This is what success looks like. This is what you're working toward. But there's a trap buried inside this thinking, and it's almost perfectly designed to be invisible. Meet Jordan. Jordan is 28. He earns $72,000 a year, more than he ever thought he'd make at this age. A few years ago, at $45,000, he was scraping by, but managing. Now he earns significantly more, and somehow, he can't quite explain it, he still feels like he's scraping by. His rent went up because he moved somewhere nicer. His car payment went up because he upgraded from his beat-up hatchback. His subscriptions, his gym, his wardrobe, his weekends, all of it quietly expanded to fill the new income. He didn't make a conscious decision to spend more. It just happened almost automatically. Jordan isn't irresponsible. He's not reckless. He's doing what feels completely normal, what everyone around him seems to be doing. But at 28, with a decent salary and a lifestyle that looks great on the outside, Jordan has less than $800 in savings, and he's not alone. What Jordan is experiencing has a name: lifestyle inflation. And it's one of the most powerful and most underestimated forces working against long-term wealth. Here's the simple version. As your income grows, your spending grows to match it, not always deliberately, often automatically. And the result is that no matter how much more you earn, you never actually get ahead, because your expenses expand at exactly the same rate as your income, like a gas filling whatever container it's put into. Think about it like a treadmill. The speed goes up, you walk faster to keep pace, and you end up in exactly the same position. You're working harder, spending more energy, but you haven't moved anywhere. The numbers tell a startling story. Studies consistently show that a significant portion of people across all income brackets, not just low earners, are living paycheck to paycheck. Surveys in the United States repeatedly find that somewhere between 50 and 60% of adults would struggle to cover a $1,000 emergency expense without borrowing money. And this isn't just people earning $30,000 a year. It includes people earning $80,000, $100,000, even more. Because the problem isn't the income, it's what happens to it. Every time income goes up and lifestyle matches it, the person resets to zero. They're not building anything. They're running in place on a faster treadmill, looking busy, looking successful, but making no actual forward progress. And then social media entered the picture, and everything got significantly worse. Here's what social media did that was genuinely new. It didn't just let people show off their lifestyles. Humans have always done that. What it did was make the comparison constant, effortless, and completely disconnected from reality. Before social media, your reference group was limited. Your neighbors, your coworkers, maybe your extended family. You compared yourself to people whose actual financial situation you roughly understood. If your neighbor bought a new car, you knew they'd been saving for 2 years. Context existed.
Now, your reference group is infinite, and it's been curated to show only the highlight reel. The vacation, not the credit card bill that paid for it. The new outfit, not the overdraft it caused. The restaurant dinner, not the fact that the rent is 3 weeks late. You're not comparing yourself to real people. You're comparing yourself to the best moments of thousands of people simultaneously every single day. And your brain, which was designed to benchmark yourself against a small local community, has absolutely no defense against this. Here's where the psychology gets really interesting. There's a concept researchers call social comparison theory. It's the idea that humans naturally measure their own success not by an absolute standard, but relative to the people around them. We don't ask, "Am I doing well?" We ask, "Am I doing as well as them?" This was useful for most of human history. Knowing where you stood in your community helped with cooperation, status, and survival. But it was calibrated for a world where your community was maybe 150 people, most of whom you saw every day and whose lives you actually understood. Social media broke that calibration completely. It gave us a fake community of thousands showing only their peaks, and our brain processes it with the exact same emotional machinery that evolved for the village. The result? Spending decisions that aren't really about what you want. They're about who you're trying to keep up with. And the people you're trying to keep up with are often doing the exact same thing, trying to keep up with someone else. All of them spending money they don't have to project a version of success they haven't actually achieved. It's a room full of people holding up mirrors to each other. Nobody is looking at anything real. Economists have a term for this: conspicuous consumption. Spending not for utility, not because you genuinely want something, but because of what ownership signals to others. And research shows that conspicuous consumption spikes dramatically in environments with high social inequality and high visibility, which is a precise description of social media. There's also something happening neurologically. When you post something that signals status, the vacation photo, the new purchase, and the likes roll in, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical released during gambling, the same one that makes slot machines addictive. Social media has essentially turned lifestyle signaling into a dopamine loop, where the reward isn't the experience itself, it's the social validation of broadcasting it, which means people aren't just spending more because of social pressure. They're spending more because spending and posting has become chemically rewarding in its own right, and the financial consequences are silent. They don't show up on Instagram. Nobody posts their credit card statement. Nobody stories their overdraft notification. The spending is visible. The damage is completely invisible.
So, how do you actually protect yourself from something this psychologically sophisticated? The first step is the most important, and it's purely mental. You have to stop treating other people's visible spending as evidence of their financial health. What you see is not the balance sheet, it's the marketing. The person with the newest car might have the worst net worth in the room. The person who looks the most comfortable might be the most financially fragile. Real wealth isn't visible. That's one of the most counterintuitive truths in personal finance. The genuinely wealthy tend to spend quietly, not because they're hiding it, but because they stopped needing external validation a long time ago. They're not in the game anymore. The second step is to run your own numbers before you make any lifestyle upgrade. This sounds boring. It is a little boring. But the question, can I afford this, is the wrong question. The right question is, if I add this expense permanently to my life, what does that cost me in future wealth? A $600 car payment every month isn't just $600. Invested over 20 years at a reasonable market return, that $600 a month becomes well over $400,000. When you see expenses in terms of their opportunity cost, what they prevent you from building, the calculus changes completely. Third, automate your savings before lifestyle has a chance to claim your raises. This is the single most powerful defense against lifestyle inflation. Every time your income increases, immediately redirect a portion of that increase to savings or investments before it ever touches your day-to-day spending. If you never see it, you never adjust your lifestyle to include it. You simply skip the inflation step. Behavioral economists call this save more tomorrow, and studies show it works dramatically better than asking people to cut current spending because it sidesteps the psychological pain entirely.
You're not losing anything you currently have. You're just redirecting growth before it becomes a habit. And finally, and this is the hardest one, deliberately reduce the amount of financial comparison you're exposed to. Not as some kind of austerity measure, but as a recognition that the information you're getting from social media about other people's finances is almost entirely false. You're making real financial decisions based on fake data. That's not a mindset problem. That's just bad inputs. Back to Jordan. On paper, Jordan looks like he's winning. He earns good money, he lives well, his Instagram looks great. To anyone watching his life from the outside, he seems like someone who figured it out. But inside the numbers, the real numbers, the ones nobody posts, he's one unexpected expense away from a crisis. He has no buffer, no investments, no growing net worth. He has a lifestyle, but not a financial foundation. And the strangest part? He knows something feels off. He earns more than he ever imagined at this age and still feels financially anxious. But he can't quite locate the problem because everything he's doing looks normal. Everyone around him seems to be doing the same thing. That's the trap. Normal is not the same as healthy. Normal right now is financially precarious, dressed up in good aesthetics. The people who actually build wealth, quietly, steadily, without a lot of fanfare, are doing something that looks almost boring from the outside. They're not upgrading every time they earn more. They're not performing success for an audience. They're letting the gap between what they earn and what they spend quietly compound into something real. They're playing a different game entirely, and the rules of that game don't show up on anyone's feed. Here's the thing about keeping up with appearances. It's a race with no finish line. There's always a newer car, a better vacation, a nicer apartment. The benchmark keeps moving because it's not a real benchmark. It's a reflection of everyone else's anxiety about the same thing. The moment you stop running that race is the moment you can actually start building something. And building something real, something that belongs to you, not to a lease or a credit line or a monthly payment, is the only version of rich that actually feels like anything.